All right.
We are recording.
Hold on. Okay, I was just going to say, you had this tendency of beginning every single episode of SOS with, and we're recording. Well, hello, everyone.
I was about to do that exact thing, and you stopped me.
Yeah, so do that, then press the button, then begin.
We've already begun. Hello, everyone. I am Zazubaar, and welcome to a long overdue review that I haven't done for any other reason than I just haven't felt like it. But there was a voice from the darkness, a lone voice, somebody crying out for me to sit down and do this review, to give my thoughts on a particular comic book series, the second volume of a comic book series that I've already started reviewing. And that voice belongs to a very good friend of mine, a brother, if you will, Mr. Andres Perez, a.k.a. KaijuNoir.
Hello, people of the internet.
Indeed, Andres is here. My first time, unless I'm crazy and thinking wrong, doing a comic book review, especially a Godzilla comic, with another person. I usually do these things alone. But what happened was, especially Rulers of Earth, I did the first volume by myself. But the reason why I thought that it would be appropriate to bring Andres on to do Rulers of Earth is he's one of the few people, one of the only members of SOS who reads the series regularly in the same vein that I do. You read it in trade, right?
Yeah. This is the Godzilla Rulers of Earth. It was definitely the first series where I decided to read in trade as opposed to issue by issue, as I did with the previous two ongoing series,
right?
And the past 3 or 4 miniseries.
Yeah. I followed or at least I tried. I failed. To follow the last series by single issues, not Half Century War, the actual Godzilla ongoing.
Yeah. When it came to the purchasing the series issue by issue, I usually get them through eBay, and you only have a small window of opportunity to purchase each issue as the day it comes out. Once you miss it, then you're gonna have to spend weeks waiting for someone to sell it again. And at that point, I just couldn't handle that anymore, and just decided to wait for the trades for Rulers of Earth.
Yeah, I would go to the comic book store and try and find the issues there, but they were inconsistent in shipments because it wasn't one of the hot-selling items on the shelves.
Yeah, that's the case with Godzilla in general, Godzilla items.
Or IDW in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Marvel or DC, or it's not even Dark Horse. They can't afford to get every series in.
Mm-hmm.
Because none of them are extremely popular. Despite the high-profile nature of some of the titles that they've licensed, like Star Trek, Doctor Who,
Ghostbusters, Transformers, G.I. Joe,
The X-Files,
the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it's just nuts. But also, those are more high-profile, at least they were, I guess, before the new movie came out. I'm sure with the new movie out, there was more of a jump in sales of anything Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on Netflix right now, and this isn't really relevant to, by the way, today we're going to be reviewing Godzilla Rulers of Earth Volume 2. If you go on Netflix right now, almost every Godzilla movie they have in their catalog, which is more now because of the movie, is in the most popular on Netflix thing, which just does my heart so good as
nice.
A Godzilla fan. I mean, it's King of the Monsters, but it's still, in some vein, the original Godzilla. When you scroll down one column, most popular, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Oh, I was so oh, yes. And Terror of Mechagodzilla's in there, Mothra vs. Godzilla's in there, even Godzilla's Revenge is in there. All the Toho Masterwork stuff is in there, so it's really, it just does my heart. And also Raids Again. Raids Again was done by Masterworks, wasn't it?
Well, you mean classic media?
Well, yeah, they did the Toho Masterworks series.
Yeah, basically.
They did do that. Okay, I was like, oh, they do Raids Again. That's the only one that's not in there, but it is in there. But anyway, so that was just kind of cool to see, and living in that climate, I assume there's going to be more jumps in sales of anything Godzilla. Like all the stuff connected to the movie is pretty much on the if you go to Barnes and Noble, Awakening, the novelization, Art of Destruction, that's in the top most popular books on the shelves right now. That's up there.
So
So
basically, it's like it's 1998 all over again.
Except this time we have a good movie to go along with it.
Yeah, that is most definitely true.
Something Godzilla fans can be proud of, as opposed to that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, and I know Star Trek fans had more of a problem with the film than Godzilla fans did with the Godzilla movie that we got. But I think Star Trek '09, like Star Trek became crazy popular again after being in the dark for years.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting, and you would see Star Trek stuff just like piled up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so to get back to Godzilla, so today Andres and I are going to review Godzilla Rulers of Earth for you, and since this is the first time I've done a comic book series in this style with a co-host, we're going to do this a little more structured because with Andres here, there is a much higher probability that we will go on tangents, as you just saw. So we're going to try and make this a little more concise, also because it's really late for both of us while we're recording. So we're going to try and keep this concise. So Godzilla Rulers of Earth Volume 2. But first things first, Andres, what's your thoughts on the series overall?
It's definitely a vast improvement over the first two series, that being Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters and Godzilla Ongoing. I feel like they do a better attempt at expanding this universe, and most importantly, giving a lot of character and personality to not only the human cast but also the kaijus themselves.
Right.
And they are really pulling out all the stops in, like, they're trying to. It's not like Kingdom of Monsters where they just like randomly insert kaiju for no reason whatsoever. They really they're trying to make sense out of this admittedly convoluted continuity out of the that Kingdom of Monsters has started. And the fact that you've got a lot of like kind of like some pretty much like big high profile Godzilla fans, such as Matt Frank and Chris Mallory, involved with this project, shows that like you can definitely see that this comic book series was made by Godzilla fans for Godzilla fans, and for that it's like an incredibly like energy. You reading Godzilla Rulers of Earth really gives it off like a very energetic and bombastic feel.
Yeah, it really feels like, kind of, if you know the Godzilla universe, we're going to give you everything you love and stuff that you want to see that maybe you haven't seen in a long time. And I think it's cool to have something like that where you get really, admittedly obscure aspects of the Godzilla universe just being brought to the forefront, like, you know, an entire section of an issue being devoted to Sanda and Gaira, the gargantuas, who aren't even Godzilla monsters, technically. They're Toho monsters, who are characters that nobody would probably know, especially by name. I mean, maybe they know the name Gargantua, but they don't know those characters by name or what those characters are, or even their characterizations, but there's a whole section devoted to them. And their characterizations are right out of the film, and they never even give a thought to explaining what a Gargantua is and why those things look like that. And you don't really... And they really wrote this series bearing in mind that it's probably, by and large, going to be read by people who are really big Godzilla fans. So you don't have to waste time explaining who Sanda and Gaira are. We can move on and have this really cool scene where Gaira fights Varan. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or even Varan. Varan gets no explanation whatsoever. The fucker just shows up, attacks people. We get a quick, not even explanation, inference of where the name comes from. And bam, we're off and running.
And before you know it, all of a sudden, like, Rodan shows up, and it's like fan, like, kind of like a fan pairing match.
It's official fan fiction almost, and that's a good thing. Like, it's not. I don't mean that in a quality way of like the level of what you're seeing. It's like Final Wars times a million, and I don't even mean that in terms of scope. I mean that in terms of you're getting to see monsters on screen together who you would have never seen on screen together in a Toho movie, because Varan and the Gargantuas are not. I mean, think about GMK. GMK was supposed to be three monsters who were smaller than Godzilla in both stature and kind of in
ability?
popularity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Toho said no to that because they thought that they couldn't sell the movie on three obscure monsters fighting Godzilla. And they didn't think they could just sell the movie on Godzilla when we were getting a Godzilla movie every year back then. So that's why they threw in Mothra and Ghidorah and potentially sacrificed a really... I mean, GMK is awesome, but an even better movie than how good GMK is by having to refurbish it with that in mind. And Rulers of Earth is just like, screw that. We're doing a comic book. We have no budget limitations. We have no... I mean, I guess to a certain extent they have studio oversight with both IDW but also with Toho, but it's like there's no risk involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
there's definitely a level of freedom with how they're able to take the story in the direction that they want. I mean, I was explaining to you, Bill, before we started recording about how Kingdom of Monsters ended up the way it did because of I guess studio limitations, studio interference. And
right.
Here they're definitely, it's kind of like the writers, the artists all have like this, are on the same track as Toho and IDW, and because they're going in that same general direction that Toho wants, they're pretty much like given like carte blanche to do whatever they want.
Which in certain cases can be both a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, I think Kingdom of Monsters is the example of given the keys to the kingdom of the Toho universe, it can go wrong. I mean, you know, I know that Kingdom of Monsters was kind of screwed over by the fact that it did get changed, and did have massive interference from IDW and Toho. But I mean, the book wasn't selling well, and the quality wasn't any better when he was just kind of running off his own idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when not only given freedom, but also in the hands of the right people, and I'm not saying Eric Powell isn't a Godzilla fan. I don't know.
Well, he's definitely a prolific writer. I mean, he got a lot of fame from that series, The Goon.
Right. So he's clearly got some kind of pedigree, but I'm not sure how big of a Godzilla fan he is. But I think that it's good to have Godzilla fans behind the keyboard, so to speak, of this series, because we're getting, in film right now, we have a Godzilla who is recognizable as Godzilla, but obviously the universe has been tweaked and the character has been tweaked to allow newcomers to come in. You know what I mean? So we're not going to see Jet Jaguar fight Orga in the Legendary movies. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, I've made this comparison many times before, but with the kaiju genre, there is definitely the more darker aspects along with the fantastical aspects.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, you know, with the Avengers, they try to be more comic book, while something like The Dark Knight tries to be more realistic. Here, because this is a comic book, the same medium that brought us such iconic, over-the-top, larger-than-life characters such as Spider-Man, the Avengers, and Superman, it's like the comic book medium is a perfect place to have all those like high-octane, incredibly imaginative concepts.
It's more well-suited to the comic book medium than, say, doing Jet Jaguar in the Legendary series.
Right.
Though I know how excited by that you would be.
It would be. Like, you know, for most people, if they were to see Jet Jaguar looking the way he does in live action, a lot of people are going to be scratching their heads, you know.
In that realistic universe, can you imagine? Like, just you have super realistic CG Godzilla and just the fucking pseudomation Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
Walk up to him just like, hey, Godzilla's like, the fuck?
And Jet Jaguar will just simply respond with a good old thumbs up. Yeah.
I think Godzilla kills him. But just out of confusion.
But with the comics, you know, you stick Jet Jaguar in there. Yes, it's a surprise, but it's a surprise in an awesome way.
And this is part of the reason why you fought so hard for me to actually sit down and review this, because I admitted this made me like Jet Jaguar. I've never been a huge fan of Jet Jaguar. I mean, there's a campy charm to him.
Yeah,
obviously, I love everything about the Godzilla universe, just inherently, no matter how bad it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I always criticize Godzilla's Revenge. I can really sit down and enjoy Godzilla's Revenge.
Yeah, if you just see it as like a best of Godzilla compilation sort of thing.
Right, but I mean, it's just like, in the proper company, like, if like, as the SOS collectively, we sat down and watched Godzilla's Revenge, we could turn it into a really fun time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can have fun with every aspect of the Godzilla universe. So, the same applies to Megalon. Like, you know, I make fun of Jet Jaguar, but, you know, he's still he's still a major player in the Godzilla universe, so I still have a strong connection to him. But I was never like, he is a good Godzilla kaiju and a character who I actually like and would like to see done other things with. And then this was like, he is goofy beyond all belief.
Well, the funny thing...
But we're going to make him so badass out of what he already is, that he is going to be the strongest character in this story aside from Godzilla. But even then, that's questionable.
Well, I do want to say that I ever since I was a little kid, I was always fascinated by Jet Jaguar, and I actually to this day I still like Jet Jaguar in an honest, like, I honestly like him, not in an ironic way that many people would do, because, you know, I grew up with Power Rangers, I grew up with Beetleborgs,
right.
to a much smaller extent, Masked Rider, I believe, and even like I grew up with a lot of like live action tokusatsu inspired shows. And looking at Jet Jaguar, he was like I saw him as being no different from the likes of Power Rangers and their ilk. And the fact that it was a humanoid, for the first time, it was a humanoid being interacting with Godzilla. Like, I never saw before Megalon, I never saw something like War of the Gargantuas or Frankenstein versus Baragon. So seeing a humanoid character interact with Godzilla was a pretty big deal for me. And
it was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess, you know, it was at that time I was also getting into giant robots, thanks to stuff like Power Rangers and Mobile Suit Gundam. And so having a actual humanoid robot that wasn't Mechagodzilla in the franchise, again, was another huge plus for me. So that's why I quickly adore Jet Jaguar to this day.
And I was more of like, yeah, just put Godzilla on screen. See, because I wasn't into Power Rangers until not later in life, like, I got into Power Rangers 2 years ago, but I got into it when I was like 8 or 9.
Oh wow, I was pretty much into Power Rangers like right when it started.
No, it was later in life for me, or later in my childhood. 8 or 9 is when I started watching it.
I assume that like Big Bad Beetleborgs was like way before your time, or you just like had the chance?
I watched Beetleborgs too.
Oh, okay.
I had seen Power Rangers before I became a fan of it. I remember I was watching, what was it, on Fox Kids? They would put it on.
Yeah, that's where it was.
And and this is obviously, I believe it was after Godzilla the series had gotten canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing an episode of it would have been before because Power Rangers in Space was what, 98, 99?
Close, I believe. So maybe earlier. I'm not sure because
I remember I was trying to watch Godzilla the series, but Power Rangers was on it, and it was Power Rangers in Space, and which is still to this day my favorite series.
Yeah, a lot of people would agree with that.
And that, and obviously original Mighty Morphin, and I just remember. Just being like, that's weird. And I'd obviously been a Godzilla fan before this, so I had seen Megalon and seen Jet Jaguar and just been like, that's weird too. So I was never really, that's why I never got into Ultraman, was just I just had never really been exposed to that sector of the kaiju community and of the geek community was the tokuatsu kind of thing.
And so I guess even to this day, you still find something a character like Ultraman weird, like the idea of that humanoid being interacting with the costumes weird.
Yeah, it's not the same to me as, like, I don't get the same feeling from even Pacific. I mean, Pacific Rim is a little different because those robots aren't totally humanoid. But even then, it's like it was never like, to me, like, I had a thought once when I was a child. To me, like, I was watching when I saw The Incredibles for the first time, and this is a tangent, so I'll make it brief.
Okay.
I saw The Incredibles for the first time, and I saw the giant robot fighting The Incredibles, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, screw The Incredibles, it's called Godzilla. Like, to me, even the thought of superheroes fighting giant monsters, I was like, that's not your job, that's the other giant monster's job.
Uh-huh.
Like, that was my thought process. I was like, I remember reading the first issue of Fantastic Four, watching the Four fight that giant, all those characters are clearly, like, inspired by Godzilla characters.
Uh-huh.
It was called Monster Island, and there were all these giant monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why are the Four doing this? Why can't they just have Godzilla do it? Or just another giant monster, to me, giant monsters' business is giant monsters' business. They should fight it out themselves and let the superheroes stick to the supervillains. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was my childhood viewpoint. And I'm not saying it stuck with me through adulthood, where I still watch The Incredibles and go, oh, fuck The Incredibles. I want to see Godzilla fight that giant robot.
Yeah.
But it was always like
have Godzilla will himself into the Incredibles universe.
Yeah, just like, I just took control of Brad Bird's genius vision and was just like, screw this, throw a giant monster in it.
No, Jet Jaguar shows up. He must have programmed himself to enter our dimension.
Because you can program yourself to do anything. But anyway, with all the tangents out of the way, let's dig into this, shall we?
All right. So we just established our history with the infamous Jet Jaguar. So let's see. Should we just go into the basic plot of Volume 2?
Yeah, well, let's just start off with the overarching story as it stands and how this builds upon it.
Okay.
So obviously we've got an alien invasion building with the Devonians and the Cryog, and we've got some kind of plot involving creatures, kaiju of different classes, involving where they come from, with land and air, space, and now the sea. Which clearly inspires some kind of, there must be a reason why they keep coming from different areas at different times. And there was an idea posed in Volume 1 that said this was because of Godzilla himself. The reason why all these creatures are coming from the sea is because Godzilla is so intimidating that they are being scared out. Which I found fascinating because it was almost like a Batman thing of like, does Batman create his own worst enemies? Does Batman make the Joker crazy? And that's been explored a lot. And I was like, is Godzilla fighting all these monsters but also causing them to appear? Which I found really cool. And I was disappointed that idea wasn't really even brought up in Volume 2.
Yeah, no, the origin is pretty much kind of dropped at this point.
Well, maybe maybe not, because the Devonians, like this volume is mostly devoted to the downfall, spoilers. And by the way, spoilers. The downfall of the Cryog.
Yeah.
And their plan totally down spiraling into a mess, and finally their extinction by the hands of the Devonians, the Seeker Squadron, which is the anti-Kaiju force in this universe, kind of this universe's version of G-Force. And also Godzilla himself, he kind of puts in the final blow. And obviously Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how I know we just finished talking about Jet Jaguar, but in terms of the overall plot, Jet Jaguar is pretty much like the wrench thrown into the gears, and just
here's the really interesting thing. Godzilla has always been and he still is in this continuity, has always been played up as the end-all, be-all, the strongest thing on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the king of the monsters. He's the strongest being imaginable. But then every now and then we'll get a creature like King Ghidorah has been done with this, Destroya,
Kaiser Ghidorah.
Space Godzilla. A creature will get thrown in who is even stronger than Godzilla, and we have to see Godzilla overcome it and still prove he is still the strongest being.
Mm-hmm. And
in this volume, they make a very convincing argument for why Jet Jaguar should be feared.
Yeah,
and why Jet Jaguar is this badass force of the Kaiju, not a serial killer, but this kaiju Steven Seagal. Blank-faced, shows up, everybody underestimates him, and then he just kicks everybody else's ass.
And then Jet Jaguar's theory's like, I'm Jet Jaguar. I'm here to take you to the bank. The blood bank.
Well, I just thought of that because, his face, he's got a permanent smile on his face. And he shows up and fucks everybody up, including Godzilla.
So that face, just keeping that smile the whole time, almost makes him like a happy-go-lucky murderous psychopath.
It's creepy, and it really works, and they play it up. They also just the amount, and also I'm sure this is something you love about the series too, is that the amount of subtle references they throw in to just every part of Godzilla lore. It's just so fun and so cool. Like, we got the Jet Jaguar thumbs up in this.
Oh man, oh my god! I had two things going through my mind when I saw that. One, fuck yeah. Two, what the heck is Bill gonna say when he sees this?
And my response, I laughed. I was with it. There were a couple of moments reading this where I laughed out loud, not in a mocking it kind of way. Oh, this is so bad. It's like, I am supposed to laugh at this because it's a subtle Godzilla reference, and I'm dying at it.
Yeah. I feel like he was doing that thumbs up to you, Bill.
He was just like, fuck you, Bill. I made it badass. It was just like, and there's also this moment, and I think it's issue 3, after Jet Jaguar has helped Godzilla defeat. No, he helped him defeat Orga.
Yeah,
and
the most spectacular fashion ever. That truly does show what you can do with a character who can change his size at will.
Right, and we're still not going to explain it because fuck you. But we're going to show you.
They do kind of hint at his origin, and I feel like his origin was inspired in a way by a concept that Matt Frank made a couple years ago. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Matt Frank's fan work, Godzilla Neo. Yeah, if you look at his Jet Jaguar Neo bio, he kind of makes a subtle reference that Jet Jaguar could have been alien in nature, and they really they pretty much say up front that Jet Jaguar is not of this earth. And,
yeah, I mean, in this continuity, he's clearly straight up alien.
And the fact that the Cryog were like, oh shit, it's that guy.
Oh, they're terrified, which is the point I was getting to. Like, they just play, like, he is like the shark in Jaws, just played up as like this terrifying force. That the main villain of the piece, I mean, they're afraid of Godzilla, but they feel that Godzilla is a force they can overcome. When Jet Jaguar shows up, they're like,
oh, we're screwed. We're screwed.
Fuck this noise. It was just so incredibly fascinating and just so cool to see. And you're absolutely right. And what I find so good about this series is that they're able to take a bizarre concept like Jet Jaguar and make him badass.
Mm-hmm.
And make him feel right at home in a universe where we can still do, dark things with Godzilla. I mean, this is still the same continuity as Kingdom of Monsters and the same continuity as the Godzilla single title.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are pretty dark stories, depending, quality notwithstanding, but they're still pretty dark stories of revenge and Godzilla killing people and the aftermath of giant monster attacks. So, it's just so cool to see that you can do both. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do these crazy out there ideas, but then still give them weight and still make them interesting and still, this stuff isn't just for kids. I mean, an adult can look at it and go, it's almost like Alan Moore effect. Alan Moore kind of proved that this is possible. Like, take Swamp Thing, for example. He took this really bizarre scientific freak and turned him into some of the downright best literature I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
And just turned him into this this lonely god who wants to be a human but can't.
Mm-hmm.
And took that bizarre idea and did that. And it's not the same level of quality with Jet Jaguar, but it's the same theory.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I just thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely like, with the right hand, with the right writer, And yeah, with the right person in charge, you can definitely take pretty much almost virtually any sort of concept and make the best with what you got.
Yeah, exactly. And like the concept, you can do anything in a story. You just have to make it work. So if you want to make
unless it's Kyle Honey, I'm home.
Yeah.
That's where you draw the line.
No, I think you just put Schultz in there, and I think you can make it work.
You know, I think you're on to something, Bill.
You know what? You make Schultz the character in that situation, and I'm there.
Oh, Führer.
Logan, I'm home.
Mein Führer.
Just make it charming. And I feel like that you can like you make like it's like okay, so we got this bizarre Ultraman ripoff who can change size. Make that badass. All right, I'll make him. I'll have him be human size and fly into Orga's mouth, grow inside of Orga, and blow him up from the inside. Mm-hmm. Holy shit!
And then being willing to take on Godzilla single-handedly once the fight with Gigan is over.
Yeah, and have everybody be afraid that he's going to fight Godzilla. Because they're afraid of what he can do, and if this thing can take down Godzilla, then shit, we're fucked. It's interesting. So cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is interesting to note that apparently Jet Jaguar seems to have a limited fuel supply, because by the time by the end of the story arc, Jet Jaguar seems to be really low on power to the point where he can barely stand on his own 2 feet. So it kind of seems like with this version of Jet Jaguar, he has seemingly unlimited power for a limited amount of time.
Right, it's almost like a Superman effect. He's godly powerful as long as there's a yellow sun present.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's kind of interesting where they're going to go with his energy source with Volume 3.
Yeah. Then there's the last page of issue 2 of volume 2 is Jet Jaguar just exploding out of Orga. And Godzilla's face just what the fuck? And Jet Jaguar's got this giant smile on his face.
And he's doing like a Superman pose.
Yeah, like this hero pose. And it just says Jet Jaguar in these giant letters. It's great. And what also works is they're very self-aware about everything, you know what I mean? Everything is
the first thing that Wood says is, "You call him Jet Jaguar?"
It's what? I just thought that was great. And being there is something to be said for taking a crazy idea and playing it straight and forcing you to take it seriously, but I think that this series has proven that it's a more lighthearted take on Godzilla, while also retaining some of the darker aspects. Mm-hmm. And I think that because of that, it's a good idea to be self-aware, to be like Jet Jaguar is a fucking stupid name, or a weird name, and just run with that, and run with the humor of that, run with the ideas of that, and that's something I just really really like. Well, we've kind of been talking about Jet Jaguar the whole time, and I kind of want to step back from it and look at the first issue, because that issue.
Definitely. There's so much going on with that first issue.
Yeah, and the second issue has a lot going on as well, but there's a lot going on in that first issue, and I kind of want to go back to that and cover it. Mm-hmm. So the series takes a break for a minute and forgets that Godzilla exists. No, I'm kidding. And what happens is they take a moment to expand other parts of the universe and kind of let Godzilla do what he's doing, and then just tell this little side story that still connects back to the main plot. Mm-hmm. And find our what do they call it in this continuity? Is it problem by zoology? No, that's Godzilla Awakening.
They're kind of like a kaiju zoologist.
Mega zoology. Whatever, it's mega something.
Yeah.
Of just giant creatures, and there's scientists and biologists who analyze these kaiju.
One of which was, I believe, the scientist from Kingdom of Monsters who gave Anguirus, Rodan, and Godzilla their names.
for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
And especially Godzilla, like he's like, this is the king of the reptiles, so we will call him Godzilla. What? Where'd you come up with that? I don't know. That's not the first words you think of when you think of a king. And then Rodan, I think the best explanation he gave was for Anguirus' name, because he was connected back to the Ankylosaurus.
Oh yeah, and perhaps like Rodan. I think did they explain that was like from it's because he's a pteranodon, we call him Rodan.
No, they don't go into that.
Okay.
That's in the original movie. Yeah, he's in here. He's very, very cool, very likable. And there's this great moment, and while they don't bring up that idea I talked about earlier of Godzilla being the cause of all these problems, but they do talk about the repercussions of the events of the previous series, which this series has been very good about continuing and making integral parts of its own narrative. Mainly that all of the different nations of the world are taking advantage of this kaiju epidemic and using them as weapons or as defense. So, for instance, you've got they're in China in the first issue, and they were at the end of the last issue, too, in Volume 1. And that's where they find Varan and Rodan. And obviously that's where the main fight of the book is between Rodan and Varan, which is going to get hard to say.
Yeah, especially once, you get the Duran Varan versus Rodan Van.
Right. Yeah, and they do drive around in a van in this story, so my lawyer is being contacted. Even though I'm pretty sure this is written long before Dylan and I came up with that. And that's obviously the main focus. And what's going I'm sorry, I totally lost. Oh, I remember. I just totally lost track of the
Chinese government.
Right, the Chinese government takes in the kaiju biologists to shelter them, and this is where we learn that they're keeping Gaira captive, and apparently for both research, but also because Gaira is they're doing kind of the same thing that the character of Deverick was doing in Half Century War, where they're using these psionic waves to attract kaiju to them as a means of defense, using the kaiju as weapons. And the character and the kaiju who they attract, or the kaiju they attract, is Gaira. And my only problem with this first issue is that we're given not only do we not get an explanation for where the gargantuas come from in this continuity, because I doubt they come from the cells of the Frankenstein monster. Because that would just be all kinds of weird.
They came from Untitled.
IDW does have a Frankenstein title right now.
Imagine they say oh, this guy comes from censored Untitled monster here.
From Germany. Is it me, Colonel Hogan?
No, Schultz, we did not use your DNA. You're not even close to being the proper soldier for the master race.
Yeah, it's like you're a fat, allied sympathizer. Why would we use you as the ace in the hole for our create giant monsters plan? You don't have to hurt my feelings, Colonel Hogan.
You're only here because we felt sorry for your mom.
Your mother cried until we promised that you could join up. But anyway, so they do this really interesting thing of the Chinese. They bring up this idea of the Chinese government wants to use Gaira and the other and Sonda as weapons, or at least as a potential like a deterrent to other countries of, oh, you think we're weak? We've got two giant monsters ready to go to unleash upon the country.
I also love how they to defend their point, they bring up the fact that America has, at this point, long ago already created a Mechagodzilla, and as we see later in issue 2, they have already built Mogera. So again, they've already said, hey, you guys get to have giant robots, okay? How is that so different from controlling giant monsters?
Yeah, what's the difference? You guys have made monsters of your own. and it's in the image of one of the worst of the giant monsters that have been unleashed. So don't you dare judge me. I'm going to do what I have to, because they feel inadequate. It's the same way of like every country tried to have a nuke back in the 50s and 60s, or tried to build, like, or even go back further to the 40s where, you know, before Hitler fell, what was he trying to do? Build his own atomic bomb, because that was the next step in warfare, and whoever got there first was going to be the next superpower, and we got it. And Russia got it. That's why those were the two superpowers. Same way with the space race. Who got to space first? Well, the Russians did. So they got their leg up in that way. But who was the first man on the moon? That was us. So it's the same way with this new age of monsters. So America has Mechagodzilla, and America has all these monsters on its soil. So we have to have our own monsters, and we have to control our own monsters in order to be fit in this new world. Otherwise, we're going to fall. And I also thought it was really cool how they bring up North Korea in that way, because that's another of the superpowers that we're opposed to nowadays, and how they fell because they failed to control Sanda and Gyra.
Yeah, I definitely.
And Mogera was there to save them.
Obviously, Kim Jong-un wasn't quite ready with that summoning spell.
And he wasn't ready to wake up Pulgasari to defend them from Sanda and Gyra.
Or you know what? The reason why was because he was afraid that South Korea would counterattack with young Gary. Right.
Yeah. Right.
I absolutely love the idea of a kaiju arms race. And just wondering, are you familiar with a what was it called? I think it was a Kickstarter graphic novel that's in development right now because it got funded, called World War Kaiju.
I am not familiar with this, but we need to contact our lawyers about World War G.
But yeah, it's basically kind of like it's an alternate timeline where instead of America creating the atomic bomb, they essentially created the legalized non-brand Godzilla.
Right.
And they dropped Notzilla in the middle of Tokyo of Japan instead of the atomic bomb, and from there on, instead of a nuclear arms race, all the countries of the world are making their own monsters.
Right.
Yeah.
Close to Godzilla, that creature?
Kind of like he's more like Reptar than Godzilla. But still pretty badass. I'll show it to you once we're done.
Yeah, that was my favorite idea of the whole story, was this idea of a kaiju arms race, and they're doing a lot of world building now, which I think is a really good idea, because the last two series were not, or at least the Kingdom of Monsters. I mean, everybody I've talked to had a different opinion on the single titled, and they're doing a lot of world building with the questionably good or bad material they have, and making it interesting, using these events in order to build an interesting Godzilla universe where these characters are affecting the world around them, and the world doesn't just continue on as is, with every now and then a city being attacked by a giant monster. No, it's a big deal. It's the next war, and it's the next term of warfare. So I like that that's brought to the forefront and used in an interesting way, and it's really, really cool. I thought that was really, really clever. That was my favorite idea. But what was your favorite concept that they put into this in terms of world building?
It's pretty hard, but I probably have to agree with you with the whole kaiju arms race. I do like how I love the political I'm intrigued by the political aspect of the story, and I don't know. I feel like something about like adding politics to a world of giant monsters is very fascinating for me. Mostly because you don't really see that done very often. I mean, even in within the Godzilla series itself, you see it mostly in Godzilla 54 and 84 for the most part.
Yeah, as the series tend to continue, they tend to lose track of the politics.
Yeah, and what's cool with
the social implications of these giant monsters.
And what's cool with what's great about Rulers of Earth, especially with with Volume 2, you get different aspects of this new Godzilla world, which seems to have all these different aspects into one universe. It's like, with issue 1, you have the political aspect. With issue 2 and 3, you have the balls to the wall action slugfest. And with issue 4, you have an awesome alien invasion story.
Yeah, indeed. And also, easily, my favorite fight in the book is Godzilla's fight with Biolante. But I'll get to that in a second. There's one more thing I want to say about world building. I also love the idea, and I think they did this in Pacific Rim too, I don't remember, of the Kaiju alert system, where you've got a news... It's almost like the Weather Channel. You've got a news network devoted to tracking and predicting where Kaiju are going to make landfall and where they're going to attack.
Yeah.
And you've got a 24-hour feed of Godzilla advancing towards Las Vegas.
Oh, I just realized with the Kaiju News Network, the little logo on the corner of the screen is the G2K logo from...
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And I also just love the little ticker tape. Oh, it's great. And I also just love that moment where Lucy is just like, where the hell is he going?
He's like, I'm walking. Yes, indeed, I'm talking. He's just like walking, singing show tunes or whatever.
He's
just put one foot in front of the other, and soon you will be walking out the door.
Oh, the Yellow Brick Road. I thought that was great.
No,
by the way, Godzilla isn't actually singing that. We made that up. That's not what I was saying was great.
I would love an app for that. To have like a Kaiju News Network app.
Yeah. Well, let me say this because it just occurred to me looking back at this issue. I love how Lucy feels the need to send her mother one giant text message telling her the entire story of what happened. By the detail, and then, like, giving her own little personal narrative to it, and then waiting to press send at the end. That's a giant text message.
You might as well just send an email or something, because I think that would work faster.
Leave a voicemail, even. Like, why send a giant text message?
I mean, imagine if that giant text ends up, like, being like a failed text, so you would have to do the whole thing all over again.
Or no, I would love it if it's just, like, it takes so long to send that, like, she's, like, 5 texts behind.
Might as well just call her at this point.
What was that?
Might as well just try to call her at this point.
Just call her! Why send this giant text message? But just before we leave issue 1 and kind of and we've kind of touched on the whole Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
But, I just want to say, I think the Godzilla versus Biolante fight and the 4-way fight between Orga, or I guess it's a 5-way technically, Orga, Final Wars Gigan, Mogera, or however you say it. I
think it's Mogera.
I've always said Mogera.
Especially when Mogera himself says Mogera in the video games.
Well, I got it from Space Godzilla, and I also got it from the games. So whenever I hear somebody go Mogera, I'm like, oh yeah, they're talking about Mogera. And I guess the ultimate challenge would be to watch the original Mysterians film to see how they say it. Which I haven't seen still.
By the way, Bill, how was Mothra?
Oh, fuck you, Andres. I will watch the original Mothra. That's my next thing. I'm going to finish House, and then I'm going to watch Mothra.
Oh boy, get ready for the long wait, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I'm more than halfway through season 5 of House.
Oh, so halfway! Ooh, well, good for you.
I finished all of season 4 in like a week.
You know what? Yes, tell me, where are you on Breaking Bad? Huh?
Haven't moved since the beginning of this last semester.
Where are you on Attack on Titan?
Episode 3.
I rest my case.
It's like we're in a court of, like, Bill promising to do things that he probably won't do.
And of course, on my side, I got like freaking Perry Mason with me.
And I've got Joe Pesci from My Cousin Vinny.
Anyway, continuing on your final thoughts on issue 1.
I still think the Varan and Rodan fight is just cool in a factor of these are two classic original Toho monsters just beating the shit out of each other, and it's awesome. And then Gyra getting in was great as well.
And I love it when as soon as you see Gyra, they still manage to make him large make him like a large creature, and yet they still keep him in scale with his original film, because when you see him with Varan, it's like a toddler going up against a crocodile, a full-size crocodile. And
I don't know if I go that extreme, but he's definitely it's almost like Batman fighting Killer Croc.
Right, and even then, Varan isn't exactly the largest of kaijus, so...
Yeah! I can't wait to get to issue 10, where they fight Godzilla together. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
But you gotta love it. I'm looking at the page right now where Varan is biting down on Gyra's arm, then Gyra manages to get a hold on Varan and completely flip him over. And before he flips him over, Varan has this "oh shit" look on his face.
And it looks like it has weight to it. It looks like it took a lot out of Gyra to flip him over like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was awesome.
Last thing, I love how they have the classic Bigfoot pose for Sanda.
Yeah, that was really cool. And also they kept Sanda and Gyra's characters entirely consistent with their original their original versions. There's still this very deep brotherly connection between them. Sanda is the good guy, Gyra is the bloodthirsty fighter. And Sanda's just I'm just trying to survive, and I want him to survive because he's my only kin.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was really, really cool that they kept that. Also, you can very clearly tell that, just like in the original, Sanda is quite a bit bigger than Gyra is. So I thought that was cool that they kept that in there. I just can't wait to see them fight Godzilla, because that's always been a childhood dream of mine, is to see the Gargantuas fight Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't wait to see that happen. But it was just cool to finally see them. They haven't been in anything since 1966. So.
Well, unless you count that brief flashback in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, where they kind of for the first time ever, they officially included them in a Godzilla universe.
Well, if you ask Toho, technically everything that was made in the Showa series is in canon with each other, which makes no goddamn sense.
No. Definitely.
How is Atragon in continuity with Godzilla?
Or even with Frankenstein versus Baragon, where they're like, a surviving dinosaur? That makes no sense.
Where they're like, hey guys, wait a minute, there's this giant radioactive dinosaur that's been destroying us for years, and we're just going to ignore that.
Who, Gigantus?
You're talking about Gorgo, right? No, not Gorgo. You guys are idiots. But anyway, I love that. So with that being said, let's jump over to issue 2 and everything that's not Jet Jaguar that we haven't talked about. Gigan attacking Area 51, Andres. What'd you think?
You know what? Yeah, I know a lot of people tend to roll their eyes whenever Area 51 gets mentioned nowadays. I don't care when it comes to 51. It's like, hey, you know what? They're freaking out he's breaking out a UFO. You've got Jet Jaguar in here. I don't care. I think it's awesome.
I thought it added to the whole kind of over the top kind of mixing of all different eras of sci-fi and kaiju stuff mixed together. I thought it was just a welcome inclusion to that.
Mm-hmm.
But the scene itself is, I have questions. First of all, being, why would the Cryogs feel the need to send ground forces down when they've got a giant killer cyborg chicken to take care of everybody else? Why would they feel the? I mean, they even say they lose ground forces in the invasion, but it's really not necessary. I mean, isn't all Gigan does is attacks, or isn't all that has to be done is Gigan would destroy it? break it open and then find the UFO from Godzilla versus Godzilla 2000, and then activate that, because that machine would then create Orga. Like, why did they have to send in ground forces?
I don't know, maybe they still think that humans are smart enough to somehow get in the way of... Oh, no, because I think they think that perhaps the humans are able to slow down Gigan with the sort of weaponry that they have shown in the past, because I think, if memory serves me right, they were able to fend off against the Destroyer crabs for quite a bit before Godzilla showed up.
Right.
So perhaps they just don't want anybody or anything slowing down Gigan, and they thought might as well just get rid of the ground forces with their own ground forces.
Oh, you know why? Because once they break it, Gigan breaks it open, but then they have to pilot it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's not self. It's not. See, I thought it was self-piloting, like it is in 2000. No, they need people to pilot it.
Okay.
Oh, that makes more sense. Instantly makes more sense.
So
I take back criticism.
So is the UFO not Orga, or is Orga inside the spaceship, or is that spaceship Orga?
No. The spaceship is some kind of... Actually, they explain it seemingly as a medical ship.
Okay.
And it creates Orga out of Godzilla cells.
Oh, okay.
So, here's my problem with this whole story. They make a big deal in issue 1 out of Godzilla, the Cryogs stealing that Godzilla skin sample from the Seeker forces. And in this, it's like they just do it the same way 2000 did it, where the ship shows up, Gigan's fighting Godzilla, Gigan knocks Godzilla down, and then the ship starts reading his DNA and creating a monster out of it. So my question, and I thought that was building to Orga, but really it's seemingly more building to Biolante. Here's my problem with that. That was such a big major plot detail. In volume 1, it constituted 2 issues of 4. But in this, both of the monsters that would come from that, they either don't mention the skin sample, or it seems to be irrelevant. So I thought they were building to Orga. But the skin sample has nothing to do with the creation of Orga, or if it does, they don't explain it. But then Biolante shows up, and the Devonians have created Biolante. But if that's what the skin sample was being stolen for, they don't even go into Biolante's origin in this. She just shows up.
True.
That's my only major plot problem, is the skin sample thing has been dropped, and the 2 monsters that it would connect to, unless they have some other reason for it in Volume 3. Maybe I should save this until we get to that. But I just don't see the point of it, and it feels like it's kind of been dropped. You know what I mean? It feels like they introduced it, they got to the point where they had to use it, and then just forgot about it.
True.
And in that same vein, once Orga finally shows up, I feel like they don't make a big enough deal out of the fact that he's been made from Godzilla's DNA.
Oh yeah, not really at all.
Obviously, you know Godzilla 2000, that's what's happening.
Yeah,
but Orga just pops up.
I don't think they even show, like, they see, like, you see the little, like, weird spaceship tentacles, like, reaching towards Godzilla, but they don't really show the process of Orga being created at all, really. They just, like, after Gigan and Mogera fight for a while, they just turn around and they're like, oh, there's Orga.
Yeah, and they don't call him Orga, at least the humans don't. That's what the aliens call him. Which I was really happy with. They do a pretty decent job of keeping the naming consistent, where it's not like, oh, a new monster pops up, it's this monster that we've never seen before. They're pretty good about, like the Zilla thing was obviously great. And then whenever a new monster pops up that they don't, that the humans don't give a name to, the aliens always call it something. So, for instance, when Destroya popped up, they called it Destroya. So when Orga shows up, they call it Orga. And even when Gigan reappears, which is a monster they've fought before, they're not sure that it's the same monster, which I find a little weird. It's like it looks just like Gigan, except this one's black.
Although it is like a well, for the most part, a robotic being, so it could be just like a Gigan 2.0, like it's a completely new monster built from scratch using the same basic design as the previous creature.
Right. I thought that it was nice though that they made reference to that.
Yeah, I mean it's so awesome that they were able to incorporate both versions of Gigan in the same continuity.
Right. That was really cool.
Although it's still kind of weird that. But it's still kind of weird that they have both a King Ghidorah and a Kaiser Ghidorah in the same world as well.
Yeah, and they're both seemingly unconnected.
Yeah, like Ghidorah hasn't even shown up since Kingdom of Monsters for some strange reason.
Yeah, and didn't he have like a totally different origin in that?
Yeah, it's basically like the GMK origin.
Right. So weird. So who knows? Maybe they'll explain it later on. Probably not.
Nope.
But I also love the moment in this where Gigan is fighting Orga.
Yeah.
Scouts do the thing he always does where he bites another monster and absorbs its power, and they obviously use it again later on with Jet Jaguar. And Gigan's just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And just fucking attacks him.
He's like, I'm not Godzilla.
Get away from me.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Stranger danger.
Straight. I need an adult. I am an adult. Let me reach deep down inside you and grab hold of your potential.
That does sound like something Orga would do.
Absolutely. Now Orga is officially Super Kamiguru.
I saw Rodan. It was pretty. I'll go kick its ass.
Go kick its ass. Hey, Godzilla. What? I saw a fish. Yeah?
I saw a giant condor.
It was pretty. Kick its ass.
Anyway, moving on.
Calls himself Godzilla, does he? Pretentious prick. Nail. What? From this moment on, I will be God Orga. Okay, God Orga. No, wait. Super God Orga.
Can I just call you Orga for short?
Super God Orga accepts this. But then obviously you've got one of the best moments in the story of Jet Jaguar flying into Orga, blowing up inside of him and obliterating him. I thought that was great. But this, since we obviously covered Jet Jaguar, let's go back to the other robot in this story, Mogera.
Yeah, is
it me? But I thought he was completely wasted.
I felt like he had a pretty decent fight in holding off Gigan until Orga's appearance, and I did like that they brought the fact that this mech can split into two vehicles. But it seems kind of weird how it's like a brand new robot just like out of the blue with no explanation whatsoever. It's like, they didn't even bring up the fact that, like, Mechagodzilla wasn't working, so we put this guy together in, like, a couple of weeks.
Well, we've been through 2 Mechagodzillas in the past 2 series, so they're done. This was and they definitely foreshadowed Mogera in the previous, in Rulers of Earth, where they said giant mechs aren't out of style. That was obviously a reference to Mogera. So at least that was in there.
Although, to be honest, even in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I always thought that Mogera was like a huge downgrade from Mechagodzilla.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, like
absolutely. I also think he looks too much like him. Like his original design in the Mysterians is weird and badass. But I feel like this Mogera, and this is more of a criticism of the design in Space Godzilla, which I've done already, but I just feel like it's too generic. It looks too much like Mechagodzilla. I mean, it even has a tail, and the original Mogera, at least to my knowledge, I don't think he had a tail.
Yeah, he did have a tail. It was like one giant pipe.
Right, but it didn't look like... I mean, this looks like Mechagodzilla's tail.
I don't know. They're kind of almost the same. I mean, if just look at Showa Mogera's Rebel Tech toy, and you can see for yourself afterwards.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing is it's got the giant fin on top. That's right off of Mechagodzilla.
Oh, then again, that's Showa Mogera also had that buzzsaw fin.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he had that. I thought he didn't. I apologize. I am wrong.
Shocker.
Oh, fuck you. I just thought he was wasted in this, and that I mean, I'm not like a big Mogera fan, but you know, he shows up, no explanation, gets his ass kicked, and then Jet Jaguar comes in and just like almost makes you forget that Mogera was even there.
Yeah, Mogera's just like he's just like sulking. It's like, nobody likes me. Nobody picks Mogera for the dodgeball toy.
Voice? Is that the I hope that's the Mogera voice from now on.
Oh, okay. You're gonna pick Jet Jaguar for dodgeball? Okay. I'll just be over here and I'll just sit on the bench as usual. Oh, okay.
I'll just do my math homework. You know, I'm just gonna sit here.
Beep.
Oh God!
Mogera.
He just sends into the earth. Mogera.
Mogera.
Oh, between him and Sad Godzilla, I love these characters. They should be a team. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna sit over here and just, you know, I see you guys don't want me. It's all right. I understand. I'm big, you know. It's fine.
I mean, I don't even have any fingers. What could I do?
I really don't even have any feet. I have wheels.
I have legs, but I don't even use legs. I mean, why do I even have legs? I have treads. I have legs and treads.
It seems like a strange design choice to bother giving me legs when I can't use them.
I have a neck, but I can't move my neck. What the fuck is wrong with this? I make no sense.
I have one position. Oh God, Mogera, stop crying. You're not even Mogera.
Oh my God, I feel sad. I'm starting to feel sad now.
You feel bad for Mogera.
I'm just like channeling Mogera's sadness through me.
You are such a good actor that you have channeled the sadness of this fictional version of this bullshit version of Mogera.
Quick, let's just go back to Jet Jaguar. I'm feeling depressed.
Yeah, let's go back to the story. But yeah, Godzilla. The whole fight is just really, really fun and really cool, and they just throw in a bunch of the different powers that were used in the movies, and I just love them. I can't get over the moment where fucking Orga just turns on Gigan and just tries to kill him.
Get in Godzilla!
And the Cryo is like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Like, are you for real? This isn't what we hired you for. This is what we're paying you for. Gigan turns around. We're getting paid for this?
Wait, you were paid for this? And he's just like, yeah, you weren't paid for this? No, not at all. Oh.
And then Jet Jaguar shows up. We're getting paid overtime, right?
Godzilla's like, I'm just here for the kegger. I'm just here because they promised me drugs.
I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
But we're all robots here. None of us have an ass. God damn it.
Well, I'm already in Vegas.
Yes. You're right there. You're right there. I don't have an ass. I'm assless. Mogera comes to grip with not having an ass.
One of the many things I lack, despite the fact that my design you would think that my design would show that I would have an ass, but I do not.
Well, I have a tail, and you know they gave me legs, but they didn't give me an ass. Oh God!
They gave me a tail, but it's not even a tail. It's thruster shaped like a tail. I don't even know why I have a tail.
It's a lie. Everything about me is a lie.
I look like Mechagodzilla.
I'm Mechagodzilla's bastard child.
Daddy, why won't you love me?
Godzilla's like, I can't deal with this. No, I mean, isn't Mogera almost like the destroyed Mechagodzilla, and we just took the destroyed pieces and just slapped on laser cannons, and that's what Mogera is.
And a Woody Woodpecker beak.
Yeah, and a drill. That's Mogera for you in a nutshell.
We just built a tank in the shape of Mechagodzilla.
And this is what came out. What do you think? Godzilla's like, well, Orga snapped it in half in one go, so you tell me. But let's kind of wrap up a little bit because we're like an hour in. So, what else should we haven't really covered the fall of the fall of the Cryogs and the rise of the Devonians and what that will mean for Volume 3. So obviously at the end of issue 3, Jet Jaguar and Godzilla triumph over Gigan and Orga. Orga is blasted into a million pieces and brought back to the Cryogs base to regenerate.
Interestingly enough, in one of the Cryog ship that is carrying the remains of Orga looks like Orga's space UFO form, but more detailed.
Right. It's obviously they're incorporating a lot of the different aspects of the different Godzilla continuities into this one story, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
We almost have every single Godzilla alien race ever wrapped up into the Cryogs and the Devonians. Well, the Devonians are aliens, right?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think they set up shop at the bottom of the sea, and that's why they have.
They could be Seatopians. Ba ba ba.
Oh snap!
If they reveal that, that'd be pretty cool.
And now I want one of them to wear like a Greek, like what do you call it, toga? Yeah, with a mustache.
Have sexy Ku Klux Klan members dancing to a giant tiki head.
Have a weird like megalon headband on his head.
Yep. Oh, that is what he has, isn't it?
All this time, Bill. This whole time.
I knew about that, but I always forget about it. So when you said that, I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, he does have like a little megalon design on there. I always forget about that, but I think Dylan brought that to my attention, or maybe it was you, and I just don't remember.
Well, anyways, what are your thoughts on the relationship between the Cryogs and the Devonians?
I thought that was really, really cool how we have these two alien factions who are quibbling amongst themselves because one thinks they're better than the other. Mm-hmm. I also like how this is all just for survival.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their invasion is not like, oh, we want power, we want more. They're not they are conquerors, but
mm-hmm.
they're not doing it just for power's sake. They're doing it for survival. They even say we don't have enough fuel to leave this orbit. It's this planet or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a level of desperation there.
Yeah. Although, do you feel like at this point, considering how many alien invasion stories we've had by now, the whole we want to take over the world because we're looking for a new home thing has kind of become a bit cliche?
Oh, obvious. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like concept of alien invasion is cliche.
Yeah,
which is why it's not played up it's really not played up that much. You know what I mean? Like the aliens are there to be villains, and they don't really play up anything else about them because out of fear of devoting page time to something that's just cliched and overdone. So it's like, all right, let's spend more time on the politics. Let's spend more time on Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, that would probably have to be my biggest complaint with this series is that. The alien villains are serviceable and entertaining to a degree, but I feel like they're not all that inspiring. And possibly it's the fact that Doctor Who has kind of ruined my perception of alien invasion stories. Yeah,
like all alien invasions pale in comparison to Doctor Who.
Yeah, because the Doctor Who, they at least give even like the take over the world to exploit their resources. It at least makes their not only does Doctor Who make their aliens take over the Earth for more than just that, but it also gives their aliens a lot of personality. And sympathy, yeah. Whether you like them or not.
Sympathize with a genocidal, unemotional garbage can?
Nope.
But then you watch the first Dalek episode and you're like, this thing's sad.
Oh yeah.
Still might be my all-time favorite episode. I'm not sure.
Dalek
is yeah.
Well, for me, it's sorry to start going to Doctor Who, but favorite episode most likely it definitely has to be with Rose's dad. The first episode with Rose's dad.
Oh, that one's good too. Yeah,
that was my favorite. Yeah.
I still can't believe they haven't brought the Reapers back.
Oh yeah. Well, anyways,
they've done. There's a major season-long plot later on you're going to get to that would almost necessitate the Reapers, but they're not even mentioned.
Okay, back to Rulers of Earth.
Yeah, back to Rulers of Earth. I just thought that was the relationship between those two species was well done, but I do agree with you. They're really not. anything to
Right.
shake a stick at. It's kind of there to be villains.
Yeah.
They're about as well personified as the Cetopians were in the original movie.
Yeah. Or no, I would probably say the Simians, because at least you get like a backstory for them.
True. Well, yeah, but the
no.
Simians are just a little bit more interesting than these aliens.
Yeah, they're not as cool as like Mogul or whatever.
Yeah, they're not. I guess the Final Wars Exilians would definitely qualify.
I don't know. Maybe the Final Wars Exilians might have like more personality than them.
True. But anyway, it's not. You're not gonna read this and go, "Oh my God, the alien invasion is fascinating and so well done." No, they're just there to create monsters for Godzilla to fight.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even get into why they. I mean, obviously, they would have to deal with Godzilla, but they don't even get into why they want to kill him so bad. I mean, obviously, it's just like, oh, he's an obstacle, he's a problem, but.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that wouldn't be your first concern, is getting rid of Godzilla. Like, you think your first concern would be, hey, these pesky humans who run the planet, we might want to get rid of them first. Anyway, I did enjoy them. I think that they're very kind of, they're well personified. They're not, like, bland at all. They're just, they fight a lot, they've got a lot, they make jokes. It's like, it's very kind of campy and fun, and they're not boring.
Oh, yeah. Especially
that's the criticism you could lob at them, but it's not really there. They're not boring at all. They're just not very interesting.
Yeah, especially like I guess their most entertaining aspect is when they were communicating with Woods and his partner.
Yeah, that was fun.
It almost felt like the leader himself almost seems to act like a James Bond villain.
He is a very Bondian villain, and I thought that was fun. I also love the moment where the Devonian leader like rises against him, just like, you think we're so weak. We're the ones building the monsters for you, and our monsters we can totally control, while yours kill each other just because why not? And bam, there's Biolante. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And thus we get to my favorite fight in the book, Godzilla versus Biolante, which, obviously harkening back to my favorite Godzilla film.
Let's see, what was it?
I was very happy.
Yeah.
It's the best part about the fight, in my opinion, is the fact that we've got Godzilla using more than just his powers and his brawn.
Oh yeah,
to solve the problem.
This is definitely a very cognitive thinking Godzilla when you see it in this fight.
This is a strategizing Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Godzilla who goes, this hot stuff will kill the creature, my enemy, but not me.
Fire plus plant?
Fire plus plant equals Screonk.
This is probably like the most strategizing Godzilla we've seen since Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Yeah, definitely. And also the most, like, just emotive. Like, you just look at his face when he gets, just like this face of, like, that really fucking hurts.
Or I pointed this out before we recorded. I love that face he makes when he first realizes the existence of the volcano.
Oh, he just, like, he's getting his ass handed to him, and Biolante is doing the same thing she does in the movie of, like, infecting him with acid. And then she slams him into the side of a mountain, and he's just like, ow. Looks up, there's like his face is glowing, he just goes, oh, like a little light bulb clicks inside of his head. I thought that would, somebody should Photoshop a little light bulb over Godzilla's head.
And I want to bring up this example before, but I've mentioned it at the beginning of the of our recording that both the writer and artist, they really know how to personify all these monsters and mechs, and especially with the not only with the artwork, but definitely also in the narration, do we get like a sense of motivation for these creatures.
Yeah, they feel like they have goals, and then they have clear ways they want to achieve their goals.
Mm-hmm.
And Godzilla getting thrown into the volcano is I mean, he almost does have a light bulb go off. There's a little orange like motion signature in that shot. It's almost like a light bulb going off.
And an earlier example of personifying the kaijus would be during issue 2, where the narration goes, "Gigan is far from weak. Experience has taught Gigan to be patient. The killing blow can wait because for now, there's work to be done."
That was great. That and all the talk about like Godzilla being the king and like controlling his kingdom, that was all great.
Mm-hmm.
That and just the shot where Godzilla is about to fire his atomic breath at Biolante, and then it's just like, fuck you. Bam! Fires it at the volcano. And then there's the shot of Godzilla just like, yeah, I fucking blew up the volcano. Bitch, what you gonna do?
Yeah, he's just walking away from Biolante just burning in agony. He's just walking away. You can almost see like a little smirk on him. He's like, yeah
he's just like I killed that bitch. What you gonna do? Well, it's also just like it makes the cliche of the hero walking away from the explosion make sense because Godzilla is the one who caused it and knows like he the lava doesn't affect him because he's Godzilla and he's been thrown into volcanoes before. And it obviously burns up Biolante because she's made of plant matter. And then he obviously finishes the blow by killing her while she's weakened. And she's burning, and he's just walking away, just like, fuck you, bitch, and she's burning in the background. It was just great.
By the way, doesn't the island that they're fighting on kind of resembles Monster Island? Because it kind of has like a crescent moon shape.
Yeah, it's weird because it might be like a piece of Monster Island. Because I'm looking at it now, or it might be off the coast of a continent, who knows. But it looks like it's like surrounded by a bigger island.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure. You know, I just had like a flashback to like Transformers Animated, where you have this island where the Dinobots live.
Right.
And there's this episode where they introduce the Predacons from Beast Wars, namely Waspinator and Black Arachnia. And there's a huge explosion, and the explosion takes a huge chunk of the island, and that leaves like the crescent moon shape from Transformers Animated, from the Dinobot Island.
Yeah, that was...
And I know Matt Franke is definitely a fan of Animated, so maybe this Crescent Moon Island must have been like some sort of homage, or maybe I'm just looking too deep into it.
I don't know, it could be, who knows. But that's my favorite. Issue 4 is my favorite issue, because I love that fight so much, and it's kind of, it's really devoted to that fight, and to the aliens quibbling amongst themselves and their fall, and I just thought that was great. And also, fucking shit's gonna go down with Titanosaurus, son.
Oh, yeah, like that last...
Everything's going to be alright. We're going to go to the island and get samples of Biolante, and everything's gonna be fine.
Oh,
nope.
really?
Titanosaurus, Manda, and Gazora, bitch.
Like, the fact that they released them makes me feel like somehow like a Devonian Liam Neeson is there saying, "Release the Krakens!"
And when Titanosaurus rose, a million fangirls clapped, or a million fanboys clapped. Like I wanna do a motion comic of this, and when Titanosaurus shows up, just have like a bunch of people clapping.
You got Titanosaurus. He's there behind him. He's like, "Yo, sup? I hear you've been you've been messing around our territory.
I hear you like Godzilla.
We don't like that sort of thing."
We ain't into that sort of thing around these parts. Oh, that's great. Well, we know that
humans, we don't appreciate your type around here.
Yes, I thought that was great. But overall, a good volume. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as the first one, because the first one just has this novelty to it of like it's the first of this kind of like non-stop fan favorite Godzilla stuff in this series. So I didn't enjoy, and also the 2-part Zilla fight will always be my favorite thing about the series. Maybe until we get to the Gargantua fight, but this was still good. My only long-standing problem with the entire series, and I don't know if they'll ever fix this, and maybe they shouldn't out of fear of it might cause bigger problems, is I think it's almost, and the fast-paced nature of it is definitely good for what they're trying to do, but I almost feel like it's so fast-paced and they're throwing so many ideas at the wall that we don't even get a second to just realize and enjoy what they've just done.
Oh yeah,
I feel like the problem Mogera had, like, oh, Mogera, oh, he's dead, oh, Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, oh, like last volume they introduced Mothra, and you'd have no mention of Mothra here,
Mothra and her children.
and the Shobijin.
Yep, it's like bam, Mothra. Okay, she's gone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. It's a very fast pace, and I did mention at the beginning of the review that that they try to introduce each of these kaijus in a more logical way, as opposed to just having them show up in the like randomly, like in Kingdom of Monsters. But they do that to a degree here. I feel like this story is much more better written than Kingdom of Monsters. However, it does suffer from the same problems to a lesser degree. And it does permeate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's more entertaining and just more well structured. So the problem of these monsters seem to be randomly placed, it's not as bad, especially when they're more personified here.
Yeah, and I guess because you're trying to introduce so many fan favorite monsters one after another, you can't really stay with one. Like, you can't focus on one idea for too long. And even with the human characters like Lucy and James, or Lieutenant Woods, even they don't get a whole lot of development outside of these are the characters that are here to research them or fight the monsters. I mean, even the main character from the ongoing Godzilla comic, who I will refer to as Jason Statham.
Well, he's dead.
Oh no, he's definitely alive.
No, he's dead.
No, they mentioned
his kid's alive.
No, didn't they mention it in Volume 1 that is like, oh, he's continuing to work for the government?
No, that's his kid. That's his kid.
Oh, okay.
His kid shaved at the end of that series and is paying homage to him.
Oh, okay, sorry.
He's dead. He fucking flew in, I think it was Space Godzilla's mouth, or he went all fucking Major Tobiyashi is his name from GMK. He went that style.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't read the last 2 issues of Godzilla ongoing.
That is why.
Yeah.
He goes all kamikaze style on Space Godzilla.
Wouldn't expect any less of comic book Godzilla universe Jason Statham.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less from that motherfucker.
But yeah, even those characters from the middle ongoing series were still a lot more developed because they weren't introducing monsters at a faster rate like here, and again, the focus was primarily on them.
Yeah, and also they did one monster a book in that series.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked as well. They did Anguirus, they did Titanosaurus, they did all these different monsters, and then finally they all converged. Perhaps a little too late, where the plot made any kind of sense.
The plot definitely outstayed its welcome.
Or it was like they were so slowly building up to it that by the time they had to get to the main plot, they just didn't have any time to develop it.
Mm-hmm. Which was also a problem with Kingdom of Monsters, where it's like nothing but padding and filler for the majority of that series, and by the time it's all wrapped up, it's like, that's it? 11 issues of build-up for this?
Yep. Yeah. I agree. And I think Rulers of Earth is a lot better at that than that series was. So, I think that's probably why they've quickened the pace a little bit, quickened the pace of storytelling. So that way they can get a complete story in. Even though this series got an extension, it's so popular right now. Mm-hmm. It's been extended past 12 issues. I think they're going to 14 or 15.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It could be they might have more time to kind of linger on stuff, which I hope so. Because now we've got the main alien invasion plot out of the way. This will definitely lend them more time to develop more aspects of it. So
yeah, perhaps with
I'm excited.
Volume 3, they're gonna include the alien invasion plot, and perhaps delve more into Jet Jaguar, and then once you get into perhaps a 4th volume with that extension, maybe that's when they're going to wrap up most of the Kaiju storylines like Sanda and Gaira.
Right. Sanda, Gaira, I'm almost certain they're going to bring back Zilla.
Oh, yeah. I like that about this series. I don't know why, but I've never been a fan of killing off Kaijus.
Yeah, and they haven't been doing that, yeah.
Yeah, I like how they save these Kaijus for future stories and battles.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Overall, good volume, very entertaining. If you're a Godzilla fan, you should have already been reading it. But I absolutely recommend it, and I recommend the whole series. The whole series is great. I still think IDW will always be hard pressed to create anything that will ever even rival Half Century War.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely as entertaining and as enjoyable as Half Century War was. It's just not quite that level of impactful storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but who knows? Maybe Godzilla Cataclysm will. I
was just about to bring up that future miniseries, but yeah, Half Century Wars is definitely like the staple of like having a Godzilla comic.
It's the Gojira of Godzilla comics.
Yeah, very personal story. Whereas here it's just like all out set pieces, along with an fascinating and ever expanding universe.
Yeah, this is the world-building book. This is the book with a universe that has to construct the world and tell stories about the people who inhabit this world and the kaiju who inhabit this world. That's why I think they should bring back Godzilla Legends and keep it in continuity with this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And just do one on Gigan and destroy.
That's good. That's kind of going to be hard keeping Legends number 3, the Titanosaurus one, in continuity with this universe.
Well, fuck that. I mean, I'm not saying that wasn't good, but I'm saying like they should bring back Legends, and maybe they'd have to call it something else, and then just do one-shots about the kaiju in this universe, but keep it in continuity.
Oh yeah.
So like do Zilla's origin in this continuity, do Destroya, Manda, the Gargantuas should definitely get their own.
Imagine if they did finally did do an explanation for the 2 Ghidorahs. And maybe you would have introduce an entire species of Ghidorahs, where you get Cretaceous Ghidorah, Death Ghidorah, Grand King Ghidorah.
Maybe the original King Ghidorah was just a lost species who went on Earth and evolved there.
Mm-hmm. Dude, imagine if we finally get Orochi the 8-headed dragon and that mechanical-looking god Ikusagami from Orochi the 8-headed dragon.
Yeah, and they're freakish Ghidorahs.
Yeah.
You could do a bunch of things with it, and I think that those properties would be well suited here because they're kind of expanding it out to other non-Godzilla Toho monsters. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to see. I'm trying to think what monsters haven't they brought in yet.
Let's see. Well, I already mentioned the Orochi.
Yeah, them obviously.
Black Moth, the winged lion. From Latitude,
Who?
From Latitude 0, Black Moth.
How about that walrus thing?
What's it called again? Maguma.
Maguma?
Or magma in Japanese, which is pretty ironic for
the mushroom people from Matango.
Oh, Dogora, the alien jellyfish-looking creature.
Yeah, Kamibus.
Yeah, Ganime, or Ganimes. I'm not sure if there's an S or not at the end. Let's see.
Let's see. Who else haven't they brought in?
Ebra.
Half-human.
Ebra.
They did Ebra in Half Century War.
Oh yeah, but not in this continuity.
True. But they did do them. I'm talking about monsters that haven't been in IDW at all.
The H-Man.
Well, he's not a kaiju. I mean.
Well, who was it that you brought up just now?
Oh, the biggest one, Baragon. They haven't done Baragon yet.
Oh yeah, they haven't. Yeah.
He's the only Godzilla monster. Him and Megaguirus, but who fucking cares about Megaguirus?
Godzilla's son.
That's a big thing they haven't done yet.
Yeah. Any of the Mothra trilogy villains?
Yeah, we could live without them. Especially the second one. You can bring in Eric and Death Ghidorah, but fuck the other thing.
Yeah, nobody gives a damn about Degarla.
Nobody fucking cares about him. He can blow me.
He shows up at your door.
Just get outraged and shit. Oh, they need to have Rodan mutate and do Fire Rodan.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's see who else. Non-Godzilla Toho monsters.
See.
They've done a lot.
Wait, have they done King Caesar?
They have not. They've not done King Caesar. Good call. Good pull. I forgot about King Caesar.
Dude. The freaking Mutos, man.
They don't have the rights to them.
Ah.
Yeah, legendary. Well, I guess we'll see. That's an interesting thing we could talk about in another video, though.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
All right.
Let's give this. I don't remember if I gave a rating to the first volume, but whatever. Even if I didn't, let's give a rating to Rulers of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
This is our rating for Godzilla Rulers of Earth Volume 2. I am going to give it a very enthusiastic 4 out of 5.
And same here. It's a very quick read. You're definitely getting a lot of bang for your buck, surprisingly, for a 4-issue volume. Definitely worth the price.
Yeah.
And you're definitely not getting you're definitely not getting ripped off. It's surprisingly actually tells a complete story arc for the most part, and you get a lot of variety in this volume. So
they're really putting in as much Godzilla fan service as they can to make it a worthy buy.
And even
throwing in
mm-hmm.
as many fights, as many interesting ideas as they can to make it worth the sell.
Yeah, if you were the kind of person who was felt like you needed more Godzilla from Godzilla 2014, you wanted something along the lines of, I don't know, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or King Ghidorah. Hey, this is right up your alley.
Yeah, this is. If you're missing classic Godzilla, then go ahead and read this.
Yeah.
What I think is so good about having two Godzilla things coming out and being popular is you've got classic, no holds barred Toho Godzilla still going on, while we've got the new American Godzilla, who is still Godzilla. It's not like '98 where it's a different character, but it's a different version.
Yeah, kind of like when you had The Dark Knight come out, and then very soon afterwards you had the television show Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Yep, that's a good example. You had this campy Batman with this super dark Batman. So both still Batman, but different.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was it's kind of cool that we now have that with Godzilla. So go out and read it. So. Andres, I think I'm going to keep you around. So next volume rolls around, I'm going to fucking bring you back. So
totally, I'll definitely be waiting.
So next time they put out one of these, which I think is next month actually, so you won't have to wait long. Because we waited quite a while to do this. Mainly the fault of that is on me. And once Volume 3 comes out, we'll sit down and talk about that as well. So thank you very much for listening, and be sure to subscribe to KaijuNoir if you haven't already. Andres, he's an alright guy. You'll get some mileage out of him. So go ahead and subscribe to Andres' channel for more videos. And also to catch up on Shoe Watch, the other SOS spinoff that Andres hosts and has Adam and David on it. So go ahead and listen to that as well.
And
but anyway,
as a little update, I know there are some people who are asking when the next episode for that is. We kind of been going on hiatus due to technical issues on my end, but hopefully I will have the next episode available up on my channel, hopefully by the end of this week or next week.
Cool. All right. So until next time, I'm Bill Worster.
And I'm Andres Perez, a.k.a. KaijuNoir.
And don't fuck around with aliens, kids, because they could clone you and turn a messed up version of you against you.
Until next time.
Good lessons.
Until next time, everybody, take care.
Sayonara.